Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. Shit.
Richard, do you worry that like your two biggest goals, which are basically extending life, curing aging and disease, and creating basically the best performing asset of all time, do you think those things might at any point be at odds with one another? In other words, it'll be hard to sell HEX in order to fund research for these other goals and still
It's
maintaining
rumored
best
that I
performing
have a
assets.
whole lot of assets that aren't HEX.
Mm.
So, and it's rumored that I'm a very busy guy. So there may like I don't know when I would ever need to sell HEX. The amount of capital that I have undeployed is absolutely silly. I have a capital deployment issue. like and the capital that I do deploy just generates more capital. So it's like my problem of not using the money I have gets larger. So like I just the parade of imaginary horribles questions are always meh.
And then my last thing is like, what
Good
would be
answer.
the elevator pitch for why Pulse is better than say, Solana or
Sure.
AVAX or any of
Yeah.
these other competitors?
Yeah. Solana, how many smart contract got? Not much. Why? Got to write them in their own made up language. Oh, their network went down totally. Oops. Found the lead guy, which by the way, they've also had hidden supply that they didn't tell anyone existed that they gave to a market maker. And you're like, yeah, scammy sounding. And then the guy that like runs the network's like, yeah, we don't really care if it goes down again. To quote an article today. Well, that all sounds kind of crappy, right? Like every L1 Ethereum thing is doing well because Ethereum's dying to fees currently. So every other L1 Ethereum thing is doing well currently because the fees are too high, right? So, what else? Did Solana have the world's largest airdrop to on ramp zillions of users all at once? Nope. Does it have a derivative play on the value of every ERC20 because those same ticker symbols with the same code will be on their network? Nope. Doesn't have any of that. So, it's I think the value proposition for Pulse is vastly higher than any of the other Ethereum killers I can think of.
My biggest sticking point is just that there's one entity that put in so much of the end. They own around 90%, and they could technically freeze, censor, roll back the chain,
Yeah,
steal funds. They could print
sure.
new
Okay.
tokens.
Hey,
So how do you?
let's play that game, bro. You want to know who else can do that? Every single mining network, every single pool. You want to know how many pools actually mine the blocks on your favorite proof of work chain? Like 3 or 4? Okay. And how often have those 3 or 4 guys decided to just screw themselves in the butt and just stop processing transactions for lulls? It's never happened. All your parade of imaginary horrible questions go the same place. They have absolutely no root in reality nor example that has ever occurred. Never.
Yeah, it wouldn't make much sense to debase your own net worth through a
But the
hack.
person could
Doesn't
lose
make
their
any sense.
keys. They could get their keys stolen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And then the community could fork away their coins because they're socially enforced networks. Just like the government were to try and attack Bitcoin and just start mining blocks. You'd be like, okay, we don't count the government blocks as valid. We're doing a proof of work change now. We no longer accept whatever the government miners are doing. They're
Yeah,
socially enforced networks.
in your defense, like they're doing that on EOS right now. They're basically forking out block one from the
Good,
token.
good,
Hmm.
good. Socially enforced network. Go to
Yeah.
town. You know. So yeah, I mean, look, I wish I had more exciting answers for the parade of imaginary horrible questions, but they're not going to happen. Like all of these imaginary things, they don't happen. Let me give you some more imaginary things. Why doesn't the government just make Bitcoin illegal? That shit was around for how many years? How many years did I have to listen to that stupid crap? Hey, why doesn't the government just like send a drone strike to every node operator? Right? Like, why not? Hey, why don't all the SHA-256 miners just change the payouts? Just a parameter instead of having what is it 6.25 BTC block rewards. Just make it 50 or 62.5. Why not? Hey, why doesn't Blockstream just inject bad code that half the nodes would just run for a laugh? I mean, I could sit here all day with the stupid, imaginary, horrible questions. Hey, why doesn't Amazon make their own Bitcoin and just put the real Bitcoin out of business? Oh, I could like, hey, this is fun, man. I like this. Let's play stuff that ain't never going to happen, but it's fun to game theory fan fiction about. It's stupid, man. I could do it all day.
But in the worst case scenario, they can just be forked out. So
sure,
that's your counter argument, which is that even in that horrible scenario where they decide to go off the rails and do something crazy, damage the project, you have protection against that, which is just forking the project, basically.
You got it.
So that's a good point. I agree with that. I mean, the only counter would be they could theoretically dump a lot of tokens before that occurs. So
when has this ever happened, bro?
Right.
You're talking about, you might as well be talking about My Little Ponies. It's just dumb. Like, I mean, like, that's fair. It's not worth talking about. I mean, here, let me give you some better fan fiction theories. What if HEX becomes the global world reserve currency? What if HEX sucks up all the liquidity from everything in the world? What if the HEX price goes so high that it breaks exchanges? I like these games better. These are more fun. Like,
that was my original kind of question, is like, what is the end game for HEX? Do you see it becoming like a reserve currency?
I look at the HEX price chart and I see it going up and to the right and curving up and to the right. And I don't know why that would stop or even decelerate. We're pre-viral. Almost nobody's ever heard of us.
Yeah, it's true.
It's nearly impossible to buy. There's tons of awesome things coming up on the horizon. Pulse, all these conversations with 100 millionaires that are, you know, being, hey, hop on the phone with this guy. He sold this company, all this stuff. Interviews are getting better. You know, my number of followers is just going up 600 a day, basically, across, you know, the different channels. It's quite a lot. You know, I'm at like 130K on Twitter now. It's just, everything's going great. Like, the only thing that people are a little upset about is that there was a dip. And you're like, it's in the game. There's always going to be dips. That is never going away. There's always going to be dips. And a dip is when the buyers are happy to get a great deal to get in, and when the sellers are, you know, unhappy that they didn't sell earlier.